Dallas Cowboys, and I want to give a major shout out to Mike Tag. Keep bringing the hype to the Cowboys Nation. We love and appreciate it. Now, can you dig it? Let's get it.
What's up, Cowboys Nation?
What is up? Welcome to I think we call this a special edition because it's Wednesday, of the Cowboys Cave with Tag and K9. And we're just getting this thing rolling, right, Kel? We got the schedule release out tomorrow, and we got a special show tonight. We've been giving you guys a lot of Cowboys love. We've been bringing Barry Switzer out. We've been bringing, Coach Dave Campo out. We've been bringing George Teague and Craig Morton, all the Cowboys legends telling us how great we are and how America's team feels so good. But Kelly, sometimes we got to go the other way. We got to find out what people don't like about the Cowboys, huh?
And dare I say, it's a Washington Wednesday.
Yes.
So we got a guest from the other side of the rivalry. We bring in somebody into the Cowboys cave, and they've been gracious enough to come in here and bless the cave and our fans with their time and to give us some stories from back in the day, which we always love, historians of the game, and get the other side of the rivalry. So Cowboys Nation, buckle up. This should be a fun one. So with no further ado, I'm going to let Mike bring our guest in.
Yeah, well, we're bringing out a great running back. He was first-round draft pick, 4th overall, the Chargers, but he found his way to Washington. Also a national champion for Oklahoma Sooners. So we might talk some Canes and some Texas Tech. We might get that as the appetizer. 2-time All-American, Pro Bowl. He led in one season he played with the Colts. He led the team in receiving and rushing yards. I mean, it was a one-man wrecking crew. So
yes,
without any further ado, let's bring out our guest, Mr. Joe Washington. We gotta get this thing right. Let's get
Hey, well, look, all I know is you guys started off right. That's a pretty good intro. I was impressed with that, to be honest. Hey, and I was a little upset that I wasn't able to get into that one. That looked pretty fun to me.
Well, hey, you anytime you want to come down to enemy territory, you want to come down to Dallas, you go to AT&T, you got a seat with me. We'll sit in the club level. We're gonna have a good time. We're gonna tailgate. Right. We get a Washington game if you want.
That sounds good.
There you go.
Sounds good to me.
No, but hey, I really appreciate you coming on. A couple good things we're going to start early is you're a Texan, so you're from Port Arthur, Texas, which I believe is home of Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson and Janis Joplin.
Well, that's a good crew. That's a good crew. Did you ever cross paths with Jimmy Johnson just in that area, or?
Well, no, not in the area, but when I got to Oklahoma, he was a defensive line coach, so got to know him, pretty well. I think he stayed there probably 1 year, and went off to explore, I guess his opportunities, and he of course eventually found one and landed there. But
yeah,
I knew him, when I was at Oklahoma.
Yeah. No, well, you were part of a powerhouse, powerhouse in Oklahoma. And obviously you had Coach Barry Switzer got there after after your freshman year, if my memory's right. But, what was it like playing for Coach Switzer and maybe what he meant to your career? I know he had very high praise for you, said in an interview that you were the greatest football player he ever coached, I think at your College Football Hall of Fame induction. But what's your thoughts on Coach Switzer?
Well, he was actually there. He was the offensive coordinator when I came in as a freshman.
Okay.
And I think I met him, on my visit. And that's it. And, to be honest with you, he had absolutely nothing to do with my coming to the University of Oklahoma. But he had everything to do with my development as a person, a young man, an athlete, a football player, a running back. I mean, his influence on me is, I mean, it's higher than Mount Everest, to be honest with you. And you know, we're friends to this day. And if you would have told me I'd be friends with a coach other than my dad and his staff, you know, in Port Arthur, you know, for 40 years, you know, I'd say I don't know about that, but he's a father to me. He's a father figure, a fantastic coach, and he's one of those guys that, you know, understand, you know, people, and to understand people, you have to take the time to know people. So I wouldn't be where I am at this particular point, you know, without him, you know, being in my life.
Yeah. And just to touch on that, and I want Kelly to jump in, but you know, we interviewed Coach Dave Campo, who was on Jimmy Johnson's staff and then stayed with Coach Switzer when he came to the you know, when he came over to the Cowboys. And Campo just put it like this: he said, "I was on Jimmy Johnson, and it's nothing against Jimmy Johnson or anything,
Mm-hmm.
but I was on Jimmy Johnson's staff back in Miami. So, and they coached together for like 10 years or whatever it was, you know, all through the years." And he said he never knew my kids' names, never knew one of my kids' names. And within 1 week with Barry Switzer knew his whole family and knew his kids. Always asked about it. It's just different styles of coaching. Jimmy Johnson, that was just the way he was built. But Barry Switzer just seemed like he took a, you know, I don't players coach, is that what they like to call it? But he just took a personal touch on your life and your family.
Well, you know what? You know, when for the most part, when people say, you know, players coach, the first thing they say, oh, well, gee, you know, he gets along with the players, and you know, he's lackadaisical. He doesn't have many rules or whatever. Well, Coach Switzer was just the opposite. He had rules. He was tough. Our practices were tough, and for the most part, you know, what made him, I would say, the players coach is the fact that he approached each individual as an individual. Mm-hmm. He had all the, you know, you got rules and you've got to have rules, but he handled each one for each situation in that particular person. So therefore, you know, you get to know that particular, you know, person. You know how to handle him. You know what makes him tick. You know what sets him off, and you know you just have to approach it to the point to where, hey, I'm talking to you. I'm not talking to the team. I'm not talking to you about the team rules. I'm talking to you as an individual. Yeah. And I think, you know, that for the most part, you know, makes him a lot different than most coaches. And, you know, he isn't willing, he isn't afraid to, you know, turn things over to his people. You know, he always says, hell, if they weren't capable, I wouldn't have them. So let's make sure, you know, we let them take care of what they need to. Hey, now here's the one thing. When I was at Oklahoma, mm-hmm. all of our coaches, mostly, all of our coaches, if they wanted to, they had their own radio show. Not just the head coach. The head coach didn't just have it. The assistant coaches, if they wanted one, and if someone approached them, hey, he was all right with that.
He didn't have no issues with that.
None with that. You know, and you know, hey, he knows, he understands that you need a good foundation to be able to last. Mm-hmm. You know, in this particular business, and you've got to have it thick, and you got to make sure that it's solid, and you got to understand and know who it is.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Well, you played high school football in Texas. Me coming from Texas, I know better than anybody that high school football is king down there. So coming from Texas, playing high school football in Texas, what led you to go to the University of Oklahoma?
Well, it came down to, you know, I think a few personalities, a couple of people. And, you know, for the most part, I'll give you the main reason after I talk about these two people. Greg Pruitt had a lot to do with it. You know, the backfield coach was hired during the spring of 72. And I got there, and they recruited me in 72. And the coach they hired was Greg Pruitt's high school coach, who coached him at set against BC Elmore in Houston. And my dad's teams and his teams played against each other. So I knew him from way back as a kid, in kindergarten. And he he talked to me, talked about it. I got a chance to see Oklahoma on television, my senior year, which before then I didn't have that very much interest in it, but until that, but you did know that they were going to always be a good football team, and they're playing in, for the championship. And the one game that was on Thanksgiving was Nebraska and Oklahoma. So that's another way you got a chance to, watch that game. And I always, and I watched it wondering, which offense would I fit in, better. They let Johnny Rodgers do a lot of the things that I did. And the wishbone, Greg didn't have that opportunity to do that. But for the most part, every time, they played, it was a track meet with them pitching the ball to the running backs.
Yeah.
So I just tried to look and see how that, would fit for me. And I talked to Greg. He showed me around on my visit. And the one thing Coach Mosley told me, said, you come to Oklahoma, you have the opportunity to do this, that, and the other. Of course, play on television, this national championship, conferences, all those things that, really, a kid, looks to have. And he said, you will have a opportunity to play in the same backfield with Greg Pruitt. And that's when my antenna went up right there. Which meant, because freshmen were eligible for the first time in a long time my year at Oklahoma. So that, really, rang my bell. The fact that, having the opportunity to go to a, great university and have the opportunity to play with fantastic people, skilled people. And one other thing, probably the deciding choice was this. During that particular time, all the teams, you hadn't transferred, color schemes and shoes to white just yet. There were a few people that wore white shoes. The whole team at Oklahoma wore white shoes. And I'm telling you, not only did the players and the linemen, the receivers, the linemen, I mean, everybody wore white shoes. The coaches, the staff, everybody. And I'm thinking, my goodness, well, there won't be any problem me wearing, white shoes there. So that's like a real good. That looks like a real good place for me to be, because it looks sleek, and especially when Oklahoma would wear all white.
Yeah.
And then the white shoes too. Oh man, that was just the uniform looked just so sleek and fast. So that had that had a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
If you go back and look at some of these films back in the 70s, and you will not see any other team in 1972 wearing all white shoes. So that had a lot to do with it, plus the fact, like Coach Mosley said, chance to be on television, win conferences, championships, win All-American honors, and, just all those things, get a chance to get an education. And I always felt that to go to a university, the one thing you have got to do is make sure you're happy in your football environment.
Yeah.
It's up to you, alone to make sure that, you get your studies and that you're able to graduate. They're going to provide, all of that for you to help you graduate,
Yeah.
But you've got to make sure that you are comfortable and you feel good in that football environment, because if you aren't, none of that other stuff makes any difference. So,
it felt good, right? You won a couple of All-Americans. You got a national championship. I'm from the U. I'm a Miami Hurricane, and we won't talk about the years in the 80s where we handled that business because you had told me that you guys beat us, but that was before we were the U. That was a little bit different.
Well, you hadn't grown up, when you were all doing my time. Just like most young guys are, it takes time. It just takes a little time, but I tell you what, they may not have had a complete team, but they had some real good players back in those days.
Yeah, they had a Chuck Foreman.
That.
Did he play in your time? Was Chuck Foreman? Was he Miami, right?
Oh yeah, Chuck. Yeah, Chuck. I think was maybe 2 years ahead of me.
Okay, yeah,
2 years.
We had Otis Anderson. I know played Miami.
Now Otis. Otis is a good buddy of mine.
Yeah.
Now, let me tell you something. That rascal. Now we played together against each other when Otis was there, and I think one game Otis probably I think he told me it was the ball that when we got the ball back, they had fumbled. He fumbled it, and I didn't remember it or know it or anything like that. But hey, if you talk about all you got to do is say Otis Anderson to me, and that's talent there, man. That is talent, pure talent. Hey, and you talking about one of the greatest guys on the planet? Hey. He's awesome. Totally awesome.
No, he was one of my. Even though he won a Cowboy, he was a Cardinal when I was a kid. I always loved running backs, but I'm always partial to running backs. But he was one of my favorite running backs. So all the great things at Oklahoma that brings you to first round draft pick for San Diego, 4th overall, and it just didn't seem to work out there for whatever reason. But then you go on to the Colts, and you really kind of made a name for yourself with the Colts a couple of years. You had some huge years, Pro Bowl years. Talk about maybe the transition from college to pro and being that 4th overall pick. Was there pressure, going in? You're probably going to a bad team, I'm guessing, and being the savior of the squad.
Well, first of all, the Chargers are one of my favorite football teams. They had guys like Lance Alworth, Keith Lincoln. At one time, Mike Garrett from the Kansas City Chiefs, he played, there, and Dickie Post, he was one of my favorites, and kid from Oklahoma that played there. Plus, the uniforms were just awesome. I mean, you're talking about the baby blue, the lightning bolt on the helmet. Now, before I got there, they had the lightning bolt on the pants. Now, I was okay with being drafted by one of my favorite teams. Oh, yeah, and Paul Lowe, one of my favorite teams. But when I got there, the lightning bolt wasn't on the side of the pants anymore. And I remember telling you, that's the first thing I noticed. I said, oh, something is wrong here.
You got some Dion in you. You got to look good to play good. Is that your motto?
Oh, yes, indeed.
Yeah.
I tell you. But, hey, that may be true, but even my little brother used to always tell me, say, Joe, you look like the raggedest player on the football team, no matter where you're in high school, college, or the pros. He said, I didn't raise you like that. You've got to put your pants in and shirt tail in and pull your socks up. He said, you look like ragmatag. But hey, you do have to play, look pretty good, to play and everything. And I like the Chargers, uniform. So being picked by them was actually, pretty cool. Now, to be honest with you, I was supposedly going 3rd to the Saints. Leroy Selman was going to be 1. And this bad dude. In the words of Muhammad Ali, this was a bad man. He was a bad man. Hey, Chuck Muncie, he was supposed to go 2nd to Seattle. And I was supposed to go 3rd. So, during those days, you didn't have all this fanfare, being in a certain place in Canada.
No hoopla.
Yeah. So we went to class. So I had a class or two, and I at a break, and I went to my room, and my telephone rang, and it was the general manager of the New Orleans Saints. So he says, "Hello, Joe, it's such and such, New Orleans Saints, and we got Hank Stram. He like little backs like you, and we'd love to have you with that 3rd pick. Tampa's going to take Leroy Selman, and Seattle's going to take Muncie, and then we'll take you as a running back here in New Orleans. Your fans here, your folks get a chance to see you, and I just think it'd be great for you. So they started the draft, and I'm still on the phone with the guy. I got a class, but I can't tell him I have a class or anything. I guess I'll just be late. So he says, well, they've already taken Leroy, and Seattle's on the clock. So once they take Muncie, you'll be a New Orleans Saint. So Seattle stayed on the clock. He said, I wonder what's taking them so long. Gee. And he starts scratching his head. I could hear him scratching his head and everything. And all of a sudden he said, oh, my goodness. Seattle didn't take Muncie. They took Niehaus. We'll call you back. Bye. Hey, well, I never did hear back from him. I did hear a little later on that, they offered to buy me, from the Chargers, but, but that didn't go. But I tell you what, I loved, getting a chance to, prove that I could play, on the professional level. The college all-stars played against the Pittsburgh Steelers, during those days. And the preseason games that we had, I know the staff and the fans got a chance to see that, I was a legitimate, choice for them, and that I could do different things with a football. And I could, hey, make a team challenge to win all the time they're on the field.
Yeah.
I actually tore up my knee in Norman during a preseason game, and ended up missing, part of the season. And actually, after I had the surgery and everything for my knee, I actually, was going to come back. I rehabilitated in about 6 weeks, came back, and was getting ready to play during the week. Didn't feel comfortable. My knee just didn't feel right. And I asked them to let me go see my doctor in Norman. But, during those days, they didn't really want you to go see another doctor unless they gave you permission. So I hounded them enough to where they finally gave my permission. And of course, I needed to have surgery again. And that put me on the shelf the rest of the season. So next year, came back, didn't use me as much. But by that time, the aura of being the number, 4 pick and the savior and being on all the billboards, had it kind of worn off a little bit. So my wife, made sure that I came to reality, because I always felt I could overcome all of it. She said, look, they've moved on, and, hey, they're going to do what they're going to do. They don't think, you or as durable or whatever, because of the knee injury or whatever.
Yeah.
And I told the guy, I told Coach Tommy Prothro, I said, Coach, I want to be traded. He said, you want to be traded? I said, yeah, and I feel that if you all use me more, this past season in a few more games, we would have won more, Coach. So
that'll help you get traded.
Yeah. So yeah, it really did. He said, well, oh, yeah, well, he told me, well, I'll just come here. You didn't come to camp earlier enough or whatever, some stuff he started telling me. But before I knew it, I was traded to the Baltimore Colts, which was my favorite team of all time.
Really?
Yeah, my brother wore
Makes me feel
19
better.
my brother wore 19 for Johnny Unitas. I wore 24 for Lenny Moore. And that was unbelievable. I couldn't believe that I was going to the Colts.
Wow.
I really couldn't. And I felt definitely rejuvenated at that particular point.
Yeah.
And got a chance to go there. Unfortunately, we had a lot of people injured during my stint there. And that's kind of how it goes. You get to these places, and if you don't have the right people, help you on that field, you can rest assured it's going to be a hard trek. And we had probably about 10 or 12 guys on offense and defense injured, including the quarterback, Burt Jones. And that really hurt because these guys won the AFC East Conference, 3 years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And we're vying, for that, Super Bowl berth, and never got there. But they were a real good football team.
Yeah.
Well, you got your way traded out from San Diego to Baltimore. Now, I'm just gonna say right now, I'm gonna take San Diego weather over Baltimore weather. But talk about having a little bit of lack of talent on that Colts team. But there was a Monday Night Football game against the New England Patriots. Now, you are still the only player in the NFL to having thrown for a touchdown, catch a touchdown, and return a touchdown for a kickoff. And that touchdown that you returned for a kickoff was a 90-yard touchdown to break a 27-27 game, basically the decisive score for that game. Now, in your professional career, was that a game that you thought was your best overall game? Because, I mean, you had to have been on to do all those things. I mean, only one player in the history of the league to do that. Is that one of your best games?
Yeah, well, you know what? I always felt, I was capable of doing that. And at that particular time, let's just put it like this. In high school, my dad made sure that, I could do everything. I could throw, I could punt, kick, whatever. My brother could do the same thing. And we just made sure that we were complete players, complete athletes. We could do a lot of different things. And I felt that being able to show, not that I'm trying to show, but making sure that the people see what you're capable of doing, I think was probably, the best, platform you could ask for on Monday night. You can show that you can run with the football. Oh, you can throw the football. Oh, you can catch it. You run back punts and kickoffs. So I could do all of that. And they let me do all of that at Oklahoma. So I didn't think, that much of it, to be honest with you, other than, we won the football game. And I really didn't know that, no one else had ever done that. But I think, as far as now and going on, until, they start letting, their starting running backs, give them the ball in all kinds of ways, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No one would probably ever do it again, because of the specialties. And, you've got a guy who's a specialty of returning punts. Well, I don't think, they're going to put him on every down, whatever.
Yeah.
But, I was accustomed to doing that, and I enjoyed doing it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you had the great start and with the Colts, great career, and then you move to Washington. Now, this is where we've been getting a lot of love with you, right? We're building the bond, and now it's going to go south. It's going to go south because you're going to Washington, and all the love has got to be gone on this side. No offense, of course, it's not personal, it's just business. But you go to the Washington Redskins. And you're walking into this rivalry with the Dallas Cowboys, and when did you first taste that rivalry with the Cowboys?
Well, actually, it was when we played them that first time. I think we played them. I'm trying to think. I think we played them there. And I think it was the first ball of the season. All I know is when we played them, I realized then, I didn't think, too much of the rivalry other than the fact that they were always playing each other for, the conference championship, Yeah. And I just, hey, I was a Cowboy fan at one time, and here we are playing them. So, not that big of a deal. Hey, Texas and Oklahoma was a big deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nebraska, Oklahoma was a big deal.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, when we strapped them on and and we got on that artificial turf, I'd say, oh my goodness. What was the little girl in what was it? The
Dorothy, Wizard of Oz, Dorothy.
Yeah, Dorothy. Hey, this ain't Kansas anymore, y'all. Hey, I knew then this was real, man. Shucks. I'm here watching Too Tall Jones and Randy White, all these guys, and now I'm playing against them 2 times a year. I'd say, holy crap, man, this is gonna be something here. And hey, these guys are tough. Hollywood Henderson. I mean, hey, they had players, they had athletes. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Hey, and then you've got on offense, you got Tony Dorsett. Hey, who can fly? Good friend of mine, real good guy. I mean, I love watching him. He's so smooth.
Yeah.
Robert Newhouse, who showed me around when I visited the University of Houston. I mean, just good guys that I've been watching a little bit, and now you're on the same playing field with these guys, man. And I tell you what, it was always exciting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And as far as the players are concerned, it was just war confined. But I tell you what, Randy White and Mark May, they used to go at it all the time. All the time. And I always used to, say to these guys, I say, look, whatever you do, don't piss these guys off or anything back here,
You gotta run
because
through.
they can only do so much to you. But if I've got the ball, that's extra incentive there. You know what I mean? So,
Oh, absolutely.
Just don't piss these guys off any more than what they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially being a dual threat running back, catching the ball and running the ball. You don't want to take one over the middle against one of them.
No,
guys.
you don't. No, indeed. And that's one thing these kids, nowadays don't realize. Hey, if you ran across the middle, I don't care if it was a running play or they were throwing deep, the ball wasn't coming in anywhere near to you, you're going to get undressed. I'm telling you. You had to put your head on the swivel, man, or else.
Yeah, now they got that. Now they got that rule. Basically, you got to let them catch it. Now there was no defenseless receiver back then. If you caught that ball going over the middle, you were a dead man.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
yeah. That was no such thing as being defenseless, right?
No.
That's right. That's right. Well, hey, so you had yourself a good career there. You've got that rivalry. I grew up with that rivalry. It seemed like Cowboys and Redskins. They played on Thanksgiving. It was it's always been a historic rivalry, and it's kind of obviously it comes in droves. It's whoever's the most competitive right now. It's kind of Cowboys, Eagles. For a long time it was Cowboys, Redskins. It kind of switches over the years, but the name changed. They went from the Redskins. They changed it over to the Commanders. To me, that was just kind of one of those things. The Redskins is just an iconic. The logo, the name, everything. Did you have any emotions when they changed the name and went away from the Redskins? Or
I really did. I really did. And but the one thing, let me just say this: I can understand, the Native Americans, having issue with. Let me see, having issue with it because I did not understand Redskins being something derogatory. I really did. I didn't.
Yeah.
So with that being said, because it was said, I understand, their plight. But as far as me playing for the Washington Redskins, hey, I was proud. I love the mascot. I love the name. Now, granted, listen, I don't know how I would feel if you would, you name them the Washington Blackskins. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can understand that.
Yeah.
But I felt that the mascot, this guy had a strong nose, he had the feathers coming out. I'm talking about a warrior. You know what? That's how we felt. That's how we felt that name was. We felt that we were warriors. You know what I mean? And hey, as a kid, when we played Cowboys and Indians, hell, I always wanted to be an Indian. Hey, these guys could ride bareback, side, shoot arrows between the horse's legs and under their belly. They didn't even have reins. They held on to. These guys were athletic even back then.
Yeah.
So that was the sense of pride that I had in being a Washington Redskin, having that big emblem on, your helmet. That was, to me, that was cool. But like I
Yeah.
said, I am sensitive to their plight. I understand. I wish it was something that they could have, worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hope maybe the name Warriors were taken or something like that. I don't know, but I always thought that was what we were. We were Warriors,
Yeah.
and shucks, it's sad to see that we've had to change it. It's sad to say that we couldn't come to some terms, to an understanding in any shape or form,
Yeah.
with it, or alter it or whatever. I don't know what could have taken place, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's my take on it. I feel I will always be, a Washington Redskin. Hey, I have a unbelievable sense of pride in being there and being able to wear that uniform.
Well, Joe, they should have put you on the marketing team, because I'm going to let you know right now that the football team was a bad name, but then they doubled down with the Commanders. They should have called you, because I mean they could have come up with a better name than that. I mean, come on now. I mean, the Washington Warriors has a great ring to it. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
I'd have taken that over the Commanders. But hey,
They could have used like the Florida State, because I
Yeah,
still
something.
say that the Washington, I mean, to me, the Dallas Star is the most iconic, logo in sports. Of course, I'm
Yep.
biased, but I
Mhm.
think the Washington Redskins, just that it's one of the most iconic, logos that you've seen, at least in my day. It's
Yeah.
very prominent, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh
it's
no, hey, let me
unfortunate.
tell you, hey,
You
it
know,
is great. I'm looking at one of my helmets now, and you see that. I mean, you see the feather coming.
Yep.
Oh, I mean, oh, that's just.
yeah,
I, hey, I like I say, I just love it, and I'm just, sad that, we couldn't do something about it, and it was made to the point to where, hey, we didn't, we weren't sensitive enough to be able to get to the point to where we could talk about it a little bit. So,
yeah.
hey, and I don't know whose fault it was. I'm not ready to play, point fingers out, because I don't know the whole thing. But you know, you've got to have conversations about things. Even if you don't want to hear them one way or another. Hey,
Yeah.
you've got to be respectful for another person and another person, whatever. Yeah, you may not like what they say, but hey, be respectful to listen, because hey, my mom used to tell me, she said, I don't care, who you are, or what you are, or whatever else. Hey. And a person you hate the most, hey, even they got something that you can say, that they can say, that you need to listen to.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
Well, we got to get back to hating each other. This is starting to become a love fest, and I don't like it. So I'm going to get one more
Oh
love
no,
fest
hey,
question.
hey. All you gotta do is blow the whistle. That's it. Just blow
we
the
got.
whistle. Hey, I can turn that switch. You hear me?
That's what I want to hear. But we got.
Hey, I can turn that switch. Hey, I try to get my shots out there on the field too, even if I'm a little.
Well, I'm glad you brought it. This is my last. This is gonna be the last love fest question, because I'm curious. Little Joe nickname. I could figure that your size, right? Your height, and all
Nope,
that.
nope,
No,
nope,
it didn't come from
nope.
that. That
My
is silver
dad's
shoes.
my dad's Big Joe.
Okay. Well,
Ah.
you know what's funny is my son name is Mikey. I grew up Mikey. And when I got older, I turned it to Mike, because I don't know. I didn't think Mikey, people took me serious as an adult. But my family used to call Mike. I was Big Mikey, and he was Baby Mikey. So he got it worse than Little Joe. And he got, so that's where it came from. So that makes sense. What about silver shoes? I didn't know if that tied back to the white shoes, or where did that come
Well,
from?
let me put it to you like this. Knowing that I was going to wear white shoes, my brother, who's 2 years younger than I am, he was a quarterback on our football team, and he was a leader. Let me tell you, he ran the show.
Mhm.
I mean, hey, my dad would send plays in. He called the plays, and if he didn't think that was what my dad wanted, hey, he changed the play and called what he knew my dad wanted. And and to be honest with you, him being my little brother, he was more the big brother to me than I was to him. So we were wearing black shoes my senior year. And, we both love white shoes, and we used to, before we started playing for my dad, we were the equipment managers and trainers and everything. And hold on, a wife is giving me a note here. Let me see.
That's all right.
Your oh, she says it sounds like I'm shouting. Does it sound like I'm shouting?
No, you sound
No,
great. I love the
no.
passion. No, it sounds good to me.
She's a psychotherapist, so you know how that stuff. Okay.
Well, don't bring it around me because when these hype videos come out that I dropped, you'll probably think I need to be committed.
Hey, so look. So my brother told Daddy, say, Dad, me and Joe, we're gonna paint our shoes so white, and we're gonna wear white shoes. And he said, okay. Now, if I'd have asked him, I don't know what my dad would have said, but Kim didn't ask him. He told him, he said, Dad, we're gonna wear white shoes. So he said, okay. So with that being said, fast forward. After I signed with Oklahoma, he came here, I think it was about, I signed in, I don't know if it was April or whatever, but in June, he came over to me and said, hey, Joe, you know what you need to do? I said, what? What are you talking about? He said, he said, you're special. You got to be different. You're going to stand out. So you know what you need to do? I said, what? You need to paint your shoes silver with red stripes and red shoestrings. I said, what? He said, yeah, that's what you need to do. I mean, he just came with this right out the blue. So, me being a big brother who always listens to his younger brother, I immediately got a pair of my shoes, went to the shoe shop, bought a can of silver spray paint, got some red shoestrings and some some red paint for stripes. And let me tell you something. I painted them, waited for them to dry, stepped back and looked at them, and I said, yep, I got to do this. I got to do this. So, okay. Now I'm going to a school where they've got all these All-Americans. Greg Pruitt is a Heisman Trophy candidate, and I'm going to paint my shoes silver. Well, I didn't do it the first game. But my brother, he harassed me. He called me twice a week. Are you going to do it? Are you going to do it? I said, no, Kim, not yet. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. He said, okay. He calls me again. So we're into the fourth game of the season, and we go to Colorado. So we go out and warm up. We come back in, right before we go back out, okay? Right before we go back out, I go into one of the stalls. I take out my can of silver spray paint, and I spray my shoes. I can't paint the stripes because I don't have time, and I just sprayed my shoes. I sprayed the shoestrings and everything. I just sprayed them. And I say, well, here we go. And the equipment manager was running around saying, what is that smell? What is that smell in here? Hey, not only that, we're 5,280 feet above sea level. So not only are we high from the altitude, everybody's getting high from
the fumes.
Yeah. So one of the safeties we had, I'll never forget me, it's number 19. He looks over the stall and he says, little Joe, what the hell are you doing? I say, I'm painting my shoes silver. He said, well, why are you doing it now? I said, if I'd done it while we were warming up, being a coach's son, I know they'd look for everything. They would have noticed them. Mm-hmm. But now, we go out now, we don't have time. Well, no one paid any attention to them. And I think because they looked like they were white. So my brother called me again. We actually lost that game, and I think they blame me now.
You jinxed him.
Yeah, for getting everybody high in the dressing room. So so they blame me. So I talked to my brother. I told him what I did, and I said, we got a week off, so I'm going to paint them. I'm going to paint them the way they should be. Now I did, and I was actually, moved from right half to left half, from playing behind Greg to left half. So this is my debut of playing with Greg Pruitt. Mm. So During warm-ups, I never wear my game shoes. I always wear a practice shoe or a high top or something. You know what I mean? So after we finish warming up, I go back in the dressing room, and when we get ready to come out, I slide my newly fresh painted silver shoes with the red stripes and with the red shoestrings.
Yeah.
So I have a great game. Hey, I have a great game. So it's got to be the shoes, okay?
Gotta be.
So we're looking at the film on Sunday. And I sitting back like all the freshmen do, you know, all the upperclassmen, they sit up front, you know, and everything. And I'm sitting in the back. And Switzer, the offensive coordinator, is running the projector. It's dark in there. And, you know, being a coach's son, I understand, the vernacular and how they look at film and why they run things back or whatever. So, after he, compliments, one of my runs and the blocking and the scheme and all of that, he keeps running it back again. So I know then, oh my goodness, gee whiz. I know what's coming, hey, I'm like I said, I'm a coach, and I know what's coming. So he runs it back by ninth time. He turns the projector off. It's pitch dark in there. Now, he's talking forward, but he turns around and he says, "Little Joe, God damn it." He always calls me Little Joe. I mean, God damn it, after Little Joe. For a while, I thought that was my middle name. You know what I mean? So he turns around, and I can hear him talking to me because, hey, he's talking to me. He's turned around. He says, "What in the hell are those things on your feet?" And I said, "Coach, those are my silver shoes." And I'm waiting for the floor to engulf me and take me out of there. And he says, "Okay, all right," and turns the projector on and never says another word.
Wow.
Nothing. That is it. I'm telling
Oh, you got the results, and you got a great nickname. You got a
Yeah.
beautiful nickname.
You look good and you played good.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's always the shoes.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Now we got to get this back to the hate real quick because we got to change this up because we got a little time with you. So Washington. Now we play, the strike season, and we had Doug Cosby on the show, play with the Cowboys tight end, and he made an interesting comment to me about the strike seasons. He said it was interesting that the strike seasons, Washington won the Super Bowl in both seasons, and I think it was 87, 82, if hopefully my years are right.
Wait. Okay, 82. They won it again in another strike season?
Yeah, they won the other strike season. You weren't there. It was later on.
Let me ask you this. How many games did they play?
It was, I think there was 3 games missed that year. So, yeah, I lost your camera. You got to move your camera up a little. I can't see your smiling face.
There we go.
There
How
we go.
high is that?
Yeah, perfect. But you guys didn't play as many games. That was the year, but to the point of it was what Doug said. The Redskins and with Joe Gibbs, he had that team bonded together. They were united. Yeah. And the Cowboys, it just wasn't, because some of the way that Tex Schramm, especially in the 87 one, wrote the contracts and they had these players had annuities. All the big stars had these annuities. And if they didn't show up to games, they would not get paid and they would lose all their annuities. And the funny thing was in 87, Joe Gibbs, I don't know if he did the same with you guys. It was, we're all in or we're not, or you guys all come back or no one comes back. And they end up obviously winning the Super Bowl, but he said a lot of it was just the bond that the players had. And so it's just interesting when I noticed, I wanted to ask you that question on the NFC Championship game. But more importantly, you beat the Cowboys in the NFC Championship game to go to the Super Bowl. The Cowboys have been to, this was the last year. So I just want to remind all these haters that keep saying we never go nowhere. 10 of the 13 years before that, the Cowboys were in an NFC Championship game. That's how good it was back then. Can we please get back to that today? I'd be much happier. But back to the nature at hand here. What was it like going to that game? It was, I believe it was at your stadium, if my memory's right. The hate for Dallas is there. We've seen the videos, and the fans are just, everyone always tells me, don't go to a game at RFK if you're a Cowboys fan. They're ruthless. So what was the atmosphere going into that? I think you guys were 8-1. So you guys, were
And let me
feeling
tell you what.
good.
Hey, the atmosphere was hostile. They were our fans were so jacked up that we probably could have allowed them to enter the field. You hear me? Hey, they probably would have beaten both of us. I mean, they were ready for that particular game. And you know what? Hey, the mere fact that that stat you gave where the Cowboys were in the NFC champ playoff
Yeah.
for the longest. Hey, we hadn't been there since what was the
It's like 70. Was it 71, 72?
I don't know if it was even, maybe it was a little earlier than that. Maybe it was 69, 70 or
It
whatever.
was
I
when they
don't
lost
know.
to Miami, the undefeated Miami team. So it might have been right around there. But the interesting thing, I want you to finish that, but I have an asterisk on this game.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know, this game has an asterisk in my eyes as a Cowboys fan because the Dallas, this was the first year that the NFL decided to play the championship game on a Saturday instead of both on Sunday. So Dallas had they played on a short week. You guys had one extra day of rest, and you guys knocked our quarterback out of the game. Dexter Manley knocked him out 23 seconds before halftime. So would you guys have still whooped us? Or no?
You know what? I never even thought about that. I thought that was part of the game, getting rid of the quarterback.
Well, Dexter Manley, he was a bad man, and he did that.
Hey, you know what? I can even say, no, we probably wouldn't. But, we won because we got rid of the quarterback. Hey, that's what you got to do. Hey, get to the quarterback. Hey, let me tell you what. If teams got to the quarterback and got after him the way we used to get after quarterbacks, you wouldn't have all this passing. You know what I'm saying?
Nope.
Yeah.
Hey, and so what I'm saying is, we probably wouldn't have won. But we got to the quarterback. You didn't get to ours. We got to yours.
That's true. That's true. And you guys had a match, between you and Riggins, you guys, that 1-2 punch you guys had, it was, you guys were tough to beat that year. So you go on to win the Super Bowl. Kelly, anything to add on that championship game?
Now, I was just going to say, he's got a point. They did get to the quarterback. Now I was going to say, if they got to the quarterback, like they did then, if they did that now, not only would it be a penalty, guys would probably end up forfeiting draft picks. I mean, they don't let you hit the quarterback like that no more.
Hey, let me tell you what. The Cowboys, they've had great defenses.
Yeah.
We've had some pretty good defense with the skin.
Yep.
But I tell you what, the one defense I would put up against anybody on the planet was a Pittsburgh Steelers defense with what they had Joe Green, LC Greenwood, Dwight White, what's the other guy's name? Holmes.
Yeah, Holmes.
Yeah, let me tell you something. Now, that's one team that if they were playing today, they wouldn't win any Super Bowls because all those guys would be in jail. You know what I mean? They throw flags, and these guys they take them to jail because these guys, they played. I'd put them against any team or offense, on the planet, including, the one I played on that, we did win the Super Bowl. That's unreal there.
Yeah.
That is unreal.
Yeah,
and you're right. They would throw a whole bunch of flags. You probably wouldn't finish the first quarter with all your players.
No. I told you we had JT Thomas on, and what did he say, Kelly? He said with the Cowboys in the first Super Bowl we played against him, they came out on the field, and was it Greenwood or White?
Yeah.
One of the players said he told
White.
JT Thomas, he said, you see that look in their eyes? And he's looking over at the Cowboys. He goes, "We already won." He said
yeah.
Oh, that's cold.
Yeah.
That's cold, man.
But that was a fit. That was a defense, is like you guys had. I remember Charles Mann said one time it was later in the career. You had already retired, but when Aikman was playing, they said they used to beat up on Aikman the first couple of years. And Charles Mann said, man, I went to go sack him, and he just looked like a turtle that was going into his shell. And you saw the head kind of going down. I mean, you guys had some vicious defenses, but it was a rivalry. It was such a great rivalry. I think about it. Even when you win the Super Bowl, we beat you. If we win, you guys, you guys beat us. In '89, we won one game all year, and it was against the Redskins. So it's such a great rivalry, even during the down times.
Yeah.
And I think maybe the name change kind of, I don't know if it's taken something away from it, because that Cowboys Indians, like you said, that always kind of really had it. But I know Kelly wants to chime in on this one, but the Eagles, their fans get so upset. They want to be our rivals so bad, and they're a seasonal rival. Like when they're halfway decent, where we become a rival. But the Redskins in the 70s and 80s and early 90s, there was nothing bigger than the Cowboys and Redskins.
No, you're right. And I think just going back to colleges, and one good thing about the NFL, they don't, everything is set. You don't rearrange, who's in this conference, too often, and who's that. The rivalries really make a big difference. I mean, they really do. They give, you an extra incentive, and the fans, enjoy it, and when you play them twice a year, that really adds a lot to it. So, having that, it really makes sport. That's what sports is all about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Well, I know for sure that I got smacked on the back of the head when I was about 12, 13 years old watching the Cowboys Redskins game. And I'm watching the game, and I remember getting up, and my mom didn't never want me to curse. I didn't know she was around. I said, God damn Redskins. And she whacked me on the back of the head. She said, watch your mouth. Never been much love between me and the Redskins. But, real quick, I wanted to talk about it, though, because we talked about the physicality of the kind of the game that you guys played, that the brand of football that was played when you were playing. So what do you think? Because I've heard that the shelf life of these running backs now, they're just not built like they were back in you guys' day, where they were built for the, you've seen a lot of these guys have lengthy careers. Now it's like you see these running backs, they're in and out of the league, 3 to 5 years tops, and people are saying it's because the game has got faster, these players are stronger. But and maybe that is true. I want your take on that, because I know you guys played a physical brand of football too. So it wasn't like you were going up and not getting hit in that hole just as hard as these guys. So what do you think has led to the shelf life of some of these running backs just really dropping off in this newer age of football?
You know what? I really couldn't tell you, because, I look at some of these guys, and, you wonder why, he isn't playing. And you know what? I think for the most part, I really do have a thought process, that goes through this. You don't run the football anymore, and we did a great deal. Even when we went to this, the one back and all the receivers, we were still, running with the football. I think, being in secondary and, and getting hit, going full speed, not looking. See, when you're carrying the ball, I'm seeing things. Yeah. And I will say this, the 2 times I got my clock cleaned out were on passing plays where I didn't see them.
Yeah.
And, you get enough of those that will really, shake you up. And I think, guys not, being in the running game as much. But then again, I don't know if I can even, blame it on that. I'm gonna tell you, and I certainly can't blame it on the physicality of today's game, because, hey, you can rest assured it wasn't any more, physical, now than it was then.
Yeah.
I mean, guys, hey, you used to get planted. I mean, you get picked up and dumped. You can't do that now. And there's so many things you could do when I played that you can't do now.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I would say for the most part it's probably coaches or teams, they don't want to play that back, to do what he does. And I think for the most part, they sort of tried to, they've really tried to de-emphasize the running back.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think that more so than the injuries is what, taking these guys out of the game.
Yeah.
And,
And
you'll find out and you see, hey, most of the teams that can, win, they can run the football.
Run the ball. Yeah.
I mean, that's in the playoffs. It's a running starts. One of the things that not to mention JT again, it's just fresh in our mind because it was last week. But we had this conversation about the players, not specifically running backs, but I wonder your thoughts on this. The practices are different. There's not the hitting anymore. There's not none of them play preseason. So his point was, these players, because we did get on running backs, and he said their bodies aren't conditioned to take the hits. And so when you saw like an Emmitt Smith playing 15 plus years, or you saw Walter Payton, you saw a lot of these guys playing, those long careers. It was, it was the conditioning part where maybe they're not hitting. And he said one time they had the Lynn Swann rule because I guess they knocked him out because he ran across the middle in practice, and the secondary knocked him out. So the coach said, we can't do this no more. We got to have our players. So do you think practice could have anything to do with that? With your father being a coach, I don't know if maybe you guys talked about that or.
Well, you know what? We had tough practices, especially the linemen.
Yeah.
The linemen and those guys were physical every day. From the time I was in college to playing in the pros, they were physical every practice.
Yeah.
The offensive line went next to each other, and we would block, but I'd make sure that I told my linebackers that I'm coming and let them know don't hurt me. You know what I mean? So, I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but the mere fact that our practices were physical and you get accustomed to it, more so than anything. I guess it may be a twitch of it or something that that makes some sense. Being acclimated to or acclimated and even accustomed to doing something, and so to the point to where a walk in the game is just a walk in the park. Because your practices are tougher than the games.
Yeah, and that's a lot of it. Go ahead, Kelly.
Sorry, I was just going to say with that in mind, is Emmitt Smith's all-time rushing record? Is that a record you ever see getting touched? Just with the way the game's evolved.
No.
Yeah.
No. It'll be a while.
Yeah.
Now,
I just seem to think with all that passing.
Yeah, of course, things have a tendency to come around, but I don't know. Plus, he was special too, and he had an unbelievable, offensive line, and another thing too, he had those great receivers.
Yeah,
and that helped a whole lot. And he had the body build, to be able to carry the football a bunch.
Yeah.
So I don't. I don't think so. He was a special guy at a special time. So
he was just very consistent for a long period of time.
Absolutely.
Even near this last few years, he still was turning yards and always positive yards and stuff like that. But I wanted to ask a question because we got my man Jody Reed. I saw him in the chat. I haven't talked to him forever. He's a Washington Redskins fan. And he don't call me no more because we've been beating the hell out of him so many times. But I don't hear him no more. But I'm glad to see he's in the chat. But he asked about Daniel Snyder. And I don't know, are you still involved with the Redskins on any level, or any thoughts on Daniel Snyder as an owner? And kind of, it seems like he's been the at least in the fans' opinion, maybe the common kind of problem with some of the trouble the Washington franchise has been getting into with everything.
Well, you know what? I try to, attend something at least, once a year. I don't really have, any, contact, with with Daniel. And I go back to Oklahoma, quite a bit, for our game, for our home games, and hadn't been able to make, anything, pro wise, but I don't know, it always, for the most part, everything starts, with the owner. So hey, he's the one. So you got to blame him. Hey, he should be able to take it. And I think I don't know who else you can blame.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been a
What do
tough
they
one.
say? The buck stops here, right?
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah. I
that's
mean,
it.
Well,
Bill
it's
Barrett gets
Hey,
beat
hey,
up, right?
even if he isn't, hey, he's got to take the blame.
That's right. That's right. Well, hey, even the Cowboys got that problem. They sit there and we talk about the Cowboys that they haven't been in the Super Bowl in 27 years. And you say, what's the one constant? Was Jerry Jones, right? So whether true or not, he's the guy running the team. He's the one writing the checks and making decisions. So that's like you said, the buck stops there.
There
Yeah.
you go.
And I think Washington just had a problem with quarterback. I mean, and Dallas,
Yes.
we felt it from when between Aikman and stuff, and I think quarterback, especially in this league now, quarterback is so important.
Yep.
And if
Yep.
you have trouble finding one, it just makes it tough for the franchise. So,
Well, see, but let me tell you one thing. Hey, the
yeah.
one problem that the Cowboys have, you always had a real good quarterback. You can come up with some pretty good ones back
Oh
there.
no, we've had some
yeah.
good ones, but people,
Yeah.
we got to remind people the Aikman, the Romo days. I mean, we're talking Chad Hutchinson, we're talking Drew Henson, we're talking Clint Sterner, we're talking some rough years here. I mean, these were
Well,
Rozier,
those guys
hard
have
times. Man.
big shoes to fill, man.
That's right. That's right.
Oh,
Well,
so no, hey, we're having a great time, and we probably kept you longer than you'd like. But what are you up to now? What's going on? And what's Joe Washington doing today?
Well, the one thing I'm trying to do is improve my golf game. Shucks.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. Goes against everything I want to do. I'm trying to keep from shooting 200.
On the back nine or the front
At
nine?
least I would have set a record another way, right?
No, that's awesome. I mean, and Kelly, any last questions?
I actually got one. I'm curious because I love to get a running back's take on other running backs. So, and you being an OU guy, I mean, you're still obviously a guy that I'm sure watches some college football. So the Dallas Cowboys 6th round drafted Deuce Vaughn out of Kansas State. I'm a Big 12 guy myself. I saw a lot of him running the ball. He's a pretty small running back. I think that's probably why he slipped into some of the later rounds. But from what I saw in college football, the guy's explosive. I mean, he's got that kind of just that cut, hit the hole and just gone. That it's stuff you can't coach. It's just a natural talent. But obviously, I'm biased. I'm drinking the Cowboys Kool-Aid. As a running back, what do you think from what you've seen of Deuce Vaughn, and do you think he'll be able to translate that and have success here at that next level?
Hey, I've been impressed with him. One thing about small running backs, they're down here. And if you don't play down at his level, you're gonna have a hard time tackling him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's strong.
Yep.
And his size, being as short as he is, it's almost like trying to tackle somebody 6'4", 250. He's compact, plus he's swift. I mean, guy can run the football. Now, granted, too, hey, as good as backs are, they're only as good as offensive linemen. Yeah. And I tell you what, I've had some of the best linemen Ray Charles could ever want. You know what I mean? And hopefully, he'll get with the Cowboys and they'll rally around him and they'll want to block for him. You know what I mean? They'll go that extra mile for him. And it really starts in practice too. You have to have that initial, contact, within, that 1-2 yard distance there to get timing right and get them accustomed to, Deuce's running style. And I think, he'll do a good job for him.
Yeah. No, great question, Kelly. Because that's
Nice.
we got a lot of high hopes for him. We got Pollard, and wouldn't mind seeing. I wouldn't mind seeing Zeke come back too. I don't know. I love Zeke. So
yeah, what's happening with Zeke? Where is Zeke? He's gone, right?
Yeah, they released him, and he's been a free agent, and he hasn't picked up on a team, and I still think he's a value. I still think he can. He's a great leader in the locker room. I think he's a tough-nosed running back, and I think there's a spot for him in Dallas. I just don't know if that'll. I don't know if that ship is.
Well,
safe.
and like I say, this, hey, They really, I think, they devalue, the running back, and I really think that that's something that's been taken, out of the game. The fact that, it don't put as much emphasis on them. So
Yeah.
that being said, with Emmett's record and,
Yeah.
signing, Ezekiel. So,
Yeah.
we'll see.
No, we will. But look, we appreciate you coming into the cave. See, we can have a love fest and a hate fest all in one thing. It's all in good sportsmanship, right? And having fun. And we've got another Redskin, your former teammate Jeff Bostic's gonna be coming in.
Oh
next
yeah,
month,
great guy.
We'll be talking about that. He was a little bit more animated about Daniel Snyder, though. I'll be honest with you. When I saw him, he didn't.
Well, how linemen are. We backs. We're a little bit more sophisticated and advanced. A little clandestine and all that stuff there. You know what I'm saying?
We got to save that clip for him. We got to play that for Bostic.
We're gonna have a good time. But
Absolutely.
we had a lot of fun. I'm sure Kelly feels the same way. We'd love to have you on again. Maybe when Dallas and Washington are playing, maybe we do a little special show and have some fun and interact a little bit with some of the Washington fans. And
you
stuff.
Got my number. Holla.
Yeah, I will, man. I appreciate it. Hang tight. Thank you for coming. Can you just do one last thing? Give Jody Reed a quick shout out. He's a big Washington fan.
Jody. Hey,
go Redskins.
Go Redskins. Well, go Washington.
Go Washington. We'll
go all of them. Hey, everybody,
Go.
So anyway, I appreciate it.
Yes,
We're going to
sir.
put you to the side. Don't hang up because we want to see it. We're just going to close the show. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yep. Thanks a lot, Joe. It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Same here.
Oh, these guests get better and better, man.
Yeah, I don't know, man. When it comes to football players from our era, when and even if it was a little bit before, I love that. I love that style of football. I love the stories they got. I love the personality. It's just, it's football to me. That's football,
Yeah.
So great interview.
It was great. Hey, guys, don't forget, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Tomorrow, we're going to be packed. I don't know how long we're going to stay. I'm going to get a 6-pack, 12-pack, whatever. We're going to have a good time looking at this schedule, figuring out what games the Cowboys got. So make sure you guys tune in tomorrow, special time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, Dallas time. So make sure you guys check it out. Kelly, great job as always, man. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Cowboys Nation, we'll see y'all tomorrow.
All right. You guys take care.
The Eagles get ready, because you might not like it, but you will learn to love it because we are the best thing going today. Now, can you dig it?